government should not ban the sale of cigarettes. As an American citizen, we all value our individual rights and personal freedoms. Yet how many of these rights and freedoms have been sacrificed to the government's "we know best for you" attitude? You no longer have to choose for yourself. Your government will choose for you. This might not seem like such a bad thing when it comes to the government banning something as harmful as cigarettes. Yet this leads to the FDA banning trans fats and New York trying to ban sugary drinks. You no longer have to think for yourself. Your government will think for you. The United States' history of banning things has not been very successful. Take, for example, in the 1920s with Prohibition. According to Mark Thornton of the Cato Institute, alcohol prohibition was a failure. Not only did it not decrease alcohol consumption long term, but without federal regulations on production and manufacture of alcohol consumption was a gamble of whether or not it would kill you. And let's not forget the worst part of Prohibition. It gave rise to the influence and power of criminals. For the first time in our history, we had organized crime that actually was powerful and threatening to everyone's lives. For the last 40 years, we've had the war on drugs, and it has cost the American taxpayer $1 trillion, with the results of no reduction in drug trafficking, no reduction in drug overdoses, and no reduction in drug possession. We've had the creation of organizations like LEAP, Law Enforcement Against Prohibition. This is the coalition of police officers, judges, prosecutors, and other law enforcement agencies that have first-hand knowledge of the war on drugs and state that it does not work. They advocate instead for the end of the war on drugs. Banning something from the American people doesn't work. Dr. Martin Luther King once said, "The greatest tragedy of this period of social transition was not the strident clamor of the bad people, but the appalling silence of the good people." According to the Pew Research Center, 53% of Americans think that the American government threatens their own rights and freedoms. So for the first time in the United States history, the majority of Americans fear for their rights. Think this doesn't apply to you? Think again. May 12, 2010, the Supreme Court of Indiana decided the Fourth Amendment of the U.S. Constitution does not apply to the citizens of Indiana. With the passing of the Patriot Act, as it stands now, it interferes with your rights that were once protected by the First, Fourth, Fifth, and Sixth Amendment. But don't worry, compromising your right to free speech, to peacefully assemble, to be secure in your own home, and for a speedy trial and due process of law is all in your best interest according to the United States government. Ronald Reagan once said that freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. We didn't pass it to our children in the bloodstream. It must be fought for, protected, and handed on for them to do the same. Have you recently read the U.S. Constitution and the Bill of Rights? Well, maybe it's time we re-educate ourselves on exactly what our rights are. And while we're at it, we should educate ourselves on the state, the city, and the county laws and regulations that apply to us. And once we've educated ourselves, utilize our right to vote responsibly, to have some control over what the government does with our lives. Many people might have advocated for the banning of cigarette sales because they were thinking of the health risks involved. But we also have to be aware of the dangers to all our other personal choices and freedoms that are at stake. Contacting your congressional representative, your local mayor, the news media, and utilizing such modern tools as Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube videos is a way to make sure that your voice is heard and that your opinions and views are out there. You are intelligent and capable citizens of the United States. Don't let your government pull your strings and dictate to you how you are going to live your life. Don't let them make the choices for you. Instead, advocate being able to make choices for yourself. The government has tried to ban, or has already banned, your access to cigarettes, trans fats, drugs, alcohol, sugary drinks, your right to privacy, your right to assemble peacefully in public, access to public lands, your freedom of speech, and your right to defend your home. What else is going to be added to this list of government bans before you're willing to make it stop? In our history, freedom has been earned, not given. Please don't let the sacrifices of those wonderful people be in vain. Stand up, protect, and fight for our freedoms today.